Town Council representing the town of Crestwood. It's very nice to meet you.
Good morning, Teresa Adams, representing the tenants of Oakhurst.
So your tenants are considering bringing a Fair Housing Act case against the city of Crestwood. What is it that they desire to obtain from this case?
My tenants have been fighting this battle for a couple of years, since 2006, and they feel like they've been discriminated against in a number of ways. But at present, they've been asked to move from Oakhurst apartments, and they feel like they should have some other remedies that's available to them.
Okay, then. They are aware of the danger that Oakhurst's apartments are currently posing to them, right?
They are aware, and they've made several attempts to the town to have those remedies, and hopefully we'll be able to work something out that they don't end up totally homeless in this situation.
Because I know that at least 50% of the houses, I believe 14 of the 36 houses looked at had rodent and roach issues. Over half the houses had electrical issues. Many of them had plumbing issues, which of course leads to mold. And I know there's, I believe, 10 families currently living in there with children, as well as the fact that the roofs in 2 of the apartments have collapsed. So the city would be very concerned at allowing the families to remain living there currently until they are actually renovated.
Absolutely, and those are valid points, and they are aware. Of course, they live there. They've been in the area. The area has transitioned over the years, and this is why when the problem first started, they contacted the city to let them know there are some problems over here. They were not as bad as they are now.
Are you sure they contacted the city? Because from my reading, they never contacted the city. They continually contacted the landlord, who didn't do any good, frankly, from what it appears. But I don't see any evidence of them contacting the city until, I believe it was 2003, 2004.
They did contact the city. They just never received any responses from the city. No, they sent inspectors out a couple of times.
Yes.
So in order for the inspectors to come out, the city had to be.
But that wasn't. That was not until fairly recently. That wasn't until several years after these problems occurred, from my reading.
Right. The problem, because they were increasingly worsened. So they did contact the city. I have to look back and see the time frame in which they did.
I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but from my reading, I believe the city really got involved after the 2 apartments collapsed. Am I correct?
That's correct. And they evacuated the place for, I think, a day.
I think it was about 2 days.
2 days there too. And then they allowed them to
return.
Right. And if the city saw at that point there were some problems, then the city should have done something at that point, but they didn't. And maybe because it's the group of people that we're dealing with, the Latinos, and they feel like they are totally being discriminated against from the city. Had it been any other group, had not the city at that point, when they came out and allowed and seeing the roof collapse, allowed these people to go back into those homes.
Well, I mean, from what I've been reading, this residents wanted to go back into those homes. In fact, it was the city who was trying to prevent it. It was only, I believe, the newspaper got involved or not the newspaper, but reporters got involved in order to put pressure on the city to allow the residents back in.
They did want to go. They're homeless. Where do you want them to go? If they're out of their apartments for a long time, what were their options? The city didn't say, okay, let's put a place over here for you to stay until these apartments are renovated or fixed or habitable. But they did not. And I think it's because it's the Latinos that we're dealing with that the city did that.
All right, then. Well, history aside, what at this point can the city do in order to make this an equitable situation for both of us?
Right now, we have there's a new owner of the property. It's Mr. Windsor.
Windsor Resort. I don't believe it's resorts, but yes.
Okay. He owns several apartments.
Yes.
Normally luxury apartments that he's.
But he has never had any form of fair housing issue or any issues of discrimination.
He has not, that I'm aware of. However, he's given my tenants about 30 days, I believe, to move out.
Well, your tenants are on a month-to-month lease, are they not?
They are on a month-to-month lease.
Thus, he has every right to give them 30 days to move out.
He may have some rights to move out. However, that leaves my clients homeless. With no place to go. They live in this area because they have close, the transportation system is there to help them get back and forth to work. They've lived in this community for many, many, many years. And so we're trying to find out is there any options that is viable to my clients instead of them being put out on the streets in 30 days with no other alternative. We're looking for affordable homes, and if the town has something they can offer with affordability that they can live in. The town has continuously discriminated against my clients. Most of my clients are day laborers, and so with that said, they've had places in town that they can, obtain employment. But each time that's done, the city goes out and put a sign up and say you can't. And they use the word loitering. No loitering here.
I beg your pardon, but on the day labor issue, that's a danger to every other person in that area, driving in that area, including the loiterers themselves. And from what I understand, at this point, the loiterers have found a place to remain, where they can this center where they can go inside and get coffee if they need to, stay inside in case it is cold, and the city has done nothing to attempt to make them leave.
The city, each time this has happened and they were at a place, however, they closed that place down. So they're no longer able to go to that place and...
From my reading of it, I believe it's still open. They may have money issues and they may need some help with that, but it is the current center that they have is open.
You may have to go back and look at that again because it is not open. And this is the maybe 5th or 6th or 7th time. It's a pattern for the town to continue to go in.
Can I just make sure we are on the same page here?
Okay.
From what I understand, they started meeting outside of Crestwood.
Mm-hmm.
The city became concerned with the fact that they were running out into the street. There were people there. They were creating a nuisance. They were creating a danger to other people on that road at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so they put up no loitering signs in order to discourage this activity. They moved down the road a bit. They continued to move down the road until eventually the city came to a deal. The previous mayor came to a deal where they were allowed to use a lot that the city owned but was not using.
Mm-hmm.
The previous mayor then renewed on that deal, I believe would be the way to put it, said, I'm sorry, we cannot have you do this here. And they found another lot that they were able to do it in. The owner of that lot found another tenant who was willing to pay more for that lot and thus after a while, refused to renew their lease.
Mm-hmm.
And that is when they moved to the center, which is now open from my understanding. I understand that they have money problems there, but it's still currently open. They are thinking they may have to close it. And that is where they are currently, the day workers are currently attempting to find labor every morning.
Okay, well, we will go back and I'll look at that, but from my understanding, the city did close it, which is not the town did close it, which is not, it's not surprising at this time because that's the pattern for what you've been doing. I mean, the town has not shown any type of, I don't want to say preferential, but any kind of treatment. It's been just discriminatory all the way around from the day laborers.
This town has been discriminatory towards day laborers that are creating a nuisance and a danger to the town.
They're not creating a nuisance.
The new mayor is perfectly willing to work with these people to allow them to unionize and obtain jobs in the unions, but at this point, they are creating a nuisance and they are creating a danger. When they run out into the streets, somebody is going to get hurt eventually, and the people who may be blamed for that is the town, and the town has reason to protect itself and its people, including the day laborers, against this situation.
You're absolutely right. The town do have reason to protect their citizens and the day laborers. However, they were not running in the street. They were in a particular area that
where the contractors would stop and stop.
Stop. Nobody's running in the street. They would stop. They would go over to the trucks.
They would stop in the middle of the street, though.
They would stop.
Would they not?
No, because they were in the park. They're in the parking.
They were in the parking lot later on, but at first they were in the street.
So with the parking lot, okay, that was creating a nuisance.
That was not creating a nuisance. However, I'm sorry that the old administration did that. We want to find a solution for this situation, but that is not the new administration that did that. And the second one, it was not the administration that did that. It was the fact that the landlord had found a tenant who would pay more for that lot.
If you look back in your records, you would notice that the town continuously, no matter where the day labor, which this is important because in order for you to have a place to stay and have affordable home, you have to work.
So yes, no matter of course, and the town wants those day laborers to work, but they want to help the day laborers in order to get them into the unions, where they would be able to find more steady paying work that pays better, and where they would become productive members of the town.
From the town's previous actions?
The town's previous actions under the old administration, am I correct?
Town previous actions, new administration, old administration, they have totally shown discrimination toward this class of people. They're underrepresented, they're uneducated, and because of that, the town they have shown complete discrimination against them. They want to stay in this community, even though this community seems not to embrace the Latinos. They want to stay in this community. They want to stay in affordable housing. They want to work. They want to be productive citizens. They want to be part of this culture. However, it seems like the town is closing off everything from work. First, no, they can't work now because they can't get picked up. They have no place to stay now because now, they got to move out in 30 days. Where is it that the town is saying, okay, this is a group of people that want to be here. They're living, not doing anything illegal. They're working.
They are in fact doing something illegal. They are loitering on the side of the city streets. They are not paying taxes for their day labor work. That's stealing from you, me, and every other member of the
proof
town.
Not paying taxes.
Do you have proof that they're not? Because you keep saying that they don't, but I can tell you that generally in these situations, they do not.
Right. We're not speaking generally here. We're not talking about generally. We're talking about the way the town, new administration and the old administration. Okay, you tell me, what does the new administration want to do? How can they help us?
Well, from what I've seen, your current issues are the housing.
Absolutely.
You want to find affordable housing, which will allow this residents to remain in the town and have access to public transportation. Am I correct?
Do you mind?
All right.
Let's just write those out so we'll know exactly where we are. We're on the same page.
All right. Is there anything else they need in regards to the housing?
And also in order to have the affordable housing, in order to pay for the affordable housing, employment issues. So if we have
they do have the employment.
Right. So making sure that there's a place for the ones who need the day labor. Some people don't. They have a public transportation. They can get to their jobs back and forth. That's not an issue. The employment for those who are day laborers, and a great majority of them are day laborers.
Would you mind if I took a look on my notes, because I believe I do have an interview by Mr. Gonzalez which would solve our issue in regards to whether this center is still open.
Okay.
In 2003 they opened El Centro. Okay, let me go back.
They said they eliminate the day laborers.
Yes, well, the thing is, it gets expensive, and I'm afraid that we'll have to close it soon. So they do currently have a place for day laborers to gather. However, what they need is they need for somebody to continue funding it. I'm not sure the mayor would consider approving. I know you think that this is because he dislikes Latinos. However, we currently have a Fair Housing Act case against us. We are trying to reduce our expenses and pay down the debt, as well as take burdens off the taxpayers. And so we don't want to risk starting a religious discrimination action against the town. And unfortunately, with the way the town is currently, the mayor worries that if he does agree to this, somebody is going to bring it up.
No matter what we agree to, someone may bring it up.
Someone may bring it up, but the fact that this is not respecting the separation of church and state would be a legitimate reason to bring it into action, whereas other solutions we can come to would not.
They're not there to receive religious instructions. They are there in a place so they can be picked up and not be a nuisance, as you just stated, to this community. So we're not there to for religious instructions. We're not there for any teaching. We're there to have coffee and to wait for someone to pick up someone to go to work. So the separation of church and state is not what we're looking at here. It's not, okay, the town is funding something, even though they do have grants out there. That's for nonprofit organization and for faith-based organizations. There are grants out there that's like that. But we're not talking about, okay, they're going there, they're getting teaching regarding the faith. They're just talking about a place that would not be a nuisance to the community, to the people of this area, to our client, my client. So we're talking about that. So I don't understand how there's a church and state situation here. I'm sorry, yeah, a church and state situation here. We're talking about a safe place to be picked up to go to work.
We're talking about a safe place being picked up to go to work that's being approved to be funded by a religious organization by the town. There is a concern with that. Maybe we can look into finding other organizations who would be interested in helping. The town is fairly interested in seeing if they can help the situation, because we know that this organization helps with educational opportunities. It helps the people get gainful employment other than the day labor. In fact, that is part of what we want to do. The mayor had, in his campaign speeches, thought that one of the best situations we can do for these gang laborers, I'm sorry, that was not intended.
And that's exactly what the town thinks. They think because they're Latinos, they're gang affiliated, and there's issue with exactly what you say, exactly what our point is.
I need to apologize. That was actually more due to the fact that my mouth was dry than anything else. That was not intentional at all. Because
it seems like it is. It seems like you have the same mentality as what the town has. They're Latinos. It's about gang, and they want to get them out.
Would you like to find a resolution to this situation?
I would love to find. No, I would love to find it.
Let me present my resolution.
I will let you present it.
The mayor is very interested in helping these day laborers get into the unions, where they are going to find better jobs. They can do a better job of supporting themselves. They can find educational opportunities, and we think that by working the town and our unions working with El Centro, they can help to fix this situation. We are willing to help El Centro remain open. We are not sure we are willing to help it remain open via funding from a religious organization. However, we can find alternate funding. We can work towards keeping it open, and we can use it to help integrate the Latin community into the town and make the town realize that the Latin community is an integral part of the town that is a good thing for the town to have.
Okay. So what avenues, when you say that we will, find alternate ways? It's always seemed to me alternate ways seem never to nothing ever result from alternate ways. So when you say that, is there a time frame that we'll try to find something? Because if you tell me alternate ways in 2 months, 3 months down the road, we're looking for alternative ways to fund it. I'm in the same situation.
Well, at the current moment, I think part of what we need to know is we need to know how much it's going to take to keep the center open.
Okay.
We need to know approximately how long currently can they remain open doing, I'm going to call it business at this point, without funding. And we're going to see, we need to do research into what other groups, non-religious affiliated, would be willing to help us fund this building.
Okay, now, what if there are no other groups that's willing to? Because obviously, we tried to do different things to find a place for the day laborers, and this is where we're almost at the end of the road. We actually moved out of town on the edge of town one time just so we wouldn't have any issues with the town and the traffic, and that didn't work. So we actually
From
pretty
what
much
I
exhausted
understood,
our
that was
resources.
due to the landlord, though. That was not due to the town.
We've exhausted pretty much all our
However, we're
resources.
interested into, when I mention unions, we are interested in talking to the unions and seeing if they need members. They'd be interested in, we want to see if they're interested in holding classes at the El Centro, making it not just a place for Latinos together, but a place for all people in that situation to learn their trade and to get into the union. They may be interested in helping to fund this if we are willing to open it up to everyone in the union.
So
We
now,
also can look to we can look into the federal government. We may be able to see if we can find some money in the town's budget in order to do this, because this is a good thing we are doing. We are helping people off the streets. We are helping them find employment. We are helping them find education. We are helping people become more productive members of this community.
we want that. I know my clients is really want to be a part of this community, and I know they want just for they would like to feel like the town is embracing them as a people, their ways of employment, just everything seems to be such a struggle in this town.
And part of me is concerned at the way this town seems to be very polarized.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if with this El Centro, we can help to introduce to the town that the Latinos, as I said before, are not a danger to the town. They are not a threat to the town. They are a positive group of people that this town has, who works hard, who wants to help the town to become a better place. I have to wonder if maybe towns should start working towards funding a parade, something like a celebration, something where they can celebrate their culture with the rest of the town, so that everyone realizes that we are not different, we are the same, we are all similar, we are all working towards doing about making our town better.
Actually, I had that as one of my and one of my points I want to bring up after we get through the housing issue, which is first and foremost, but to have a Latino awareness day or week, mm-hmm. and that way they can share their culture with the town. I think the more the town is aware of the culture, maybe they won't be so standoffish, or they won't be they'll embrace it more.
I agree.
So,
I think a huge part of the situation is the fact that, partially because of the previous administration, partly because of the Latinos, and partially because of the rest of the town, we have managed to polarize ourselves where we don't see similarities, we see differences. And if the town learned about the culture, they learned to celebrate the culture, then we wouldn't have an issue where everyone is blaming Latinos for many of the problems that the town seems to be having. And we can work together to find a better solution.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So I think we do agree. I think we're looking at through the same lenses. We see the same perspective and what the Latinos have been dealing with for the last several years. And so I totally agree with the Latino awareness, week or day down the road. However, let's return back to the affordable housing.
The affordable housing. Now, what I feel like we need to do in this situation is both you and I need to look. The town is a large place. There are other areas in this town where these people can afford the housing. Mm-hmm. The issue, it seems to me, is the fact that those areas don't have public transportation. The mayor is willing to change that. He is willing to ensure that anywhere where there is a large number of people who need public transportation will be provided to them.
Okay.
So can we work together later on, look into other areas your clients can move into, and work with the mayor in order to provide public transportation for those areas?
That seems amicable with the public transportation. They can afford, and really when you're looking at this town and what they have as far as housing, they can afford around between $1,100 to $1,200 a month.
Yes.
In rent. And so wherever you're looking, if the rent is not 1,500, 1,600. It has to be between 11, 1,200. I think the max, when I spoke with them last, is they can go to 1,300, but that's pushing it. We prefer to
Yes.
stay them between 11, maybe 1,000 to $1,200, and having public transportation. And maybe Mr. Windsor can give him a little bit more than 30 days if the town can talk to him, because it may take us more than 30 days to, set up the transportation issue and for them to move. So we may need a little bit more time
I
than the
am
30 days.
concerned about the 30 days. I am incredibly concerned. I've seen the apartments, and I'm incredibly concerned about their condition.
Mm-hmm.
There's currently children in there. There are probably mold problems. There are rodent problems. There are roach problems. There are electrical problems. The entire place is effectively a death trap at this point.
This is true, but
So I'm trying to figure out a way that the city can work with your clients in order to find some form of location where, right off the bat, this needs to be our first concern. And I can guarantee you that once the instant that we find a solution for your clients, the mayor will find a way to at the very least get several buses out there a day in order, if they need to go a little bit farther out of town, in order to bring them into town where their jobs are. But they can't remain there for 30 days. They are endangering themselves, they are endangering others, and they are endangering their children. We are willing to see, if we don't find somewhere within the 30 days, we are willing to see if the town can make a deal with Windsor or some of the other rental area communities in the town where they would have a period of 3-4 months in which they can remain in another apartment, and be able to, while we find them housing that they can afford, that they can set up public transportation, and find them a permanent solution to this issue.
Okay, so you're suggesting that they move from Oakhurst to a temporary place for 3 or 4 months, and then from there
That's only
move
if we
to a
fail to
permanent.
find a permanent place within the next 30 days.
Okay. And then with that is there's money. There's money to move from point A to point B, from point B to point C. That's moving all my furniture, all my stuff, and
I
then
realize
moving
there's
again.
money issues, there's time issues, and everything else. However, I think the safety of these people should be our first priority.
It's amazing the town is regarding, looking at their safety right now when they weren't thinking about their safety a couple of years ago. But that's here.
I apologize. That's
here,
part. I would say that mostly due to the change in administration. We're looking at this as a serious problem. We want to improve this problem for both parties.
Another thing. So I think that's a viable solution. I will go back to my clients and share the results of this meeting, let them know what the town is suggesting, offering as for a temporary transitional housing. So you're looking at transitional housing, and so I think that would work. I think that's a suggestion that they will be able to.
I mean, I don't think this is a great situation for anyone. Windsor, the town, and the Latinos in the apartments must realize that these apartments are incredibly dangerous, and the longer people are in them, the more dangerous they are going to become, and the more likely we are going to have one of your clients' children become seriously injured or killed.
Okay, so I want to stress to you that when you go back to the mayor, that you let the mayor know that, one, they want to remain in this community. They want to be treated fairly in this community. They're productive citizens, and they want to stay here because they have ties in this community. They want to maintain, maintaining their working conditions. They want to have public transportation so they can get back and forth to work to still be those productive citizens. They did want to remain in the Oakhurst apartments. However, if what you're saying, if Mr. Windsor, I was thinking that he could actually set aside 20 or 30 units to for affordable housing. But, you know, so Windsor does not want to set aside 20, 30 units for affordable housing because he does specialize in luxurious apartments, then, you know, they would have to move. But if they have a place to move, that's a nice place that, you know, it's not ran down, it's not having all kind of issues. They have to move in 6 months because the place is being condemned because the town just thrown them somewhere. Then that may be viable. So I will go back to my clients, let them know what you're saying, what you're proposing. It seems like a decent, I would say decent proposal that they have a place to stay, they have, you know, a place to work, and, you know, we can look into the day labor situation. So I think that we hit the affordable housing, we hit the day labor situation, the employment situation, the community ties. I think we're on our way to coming to a, you know, a solution that we all can live with.
Yes. All right.
Okay?
Well, it's,
Or you would go back to your office
I
and
will
you can
be-
draw up a contract.
I,
Okay, and within 3 days perhaps, give that contract back to me so we can, I can tell my clients all the conditions that in the contract and perhaps dates, because they have to know where they're going next. Because
yes.
Mr. Windsor, and maybe bring Mr. Windsor in to let him know, and have the mayor maybe call Mr. Windsor to let him know, and he can work with us as we transition our clients to a new place to stay.
Yes, we'll look into working with Mr. Windsor, and I think both of us need to be right on this problem of where can we find affordable housing for these people, for your clients, that they can live and they can thrive in the community.
Okay, thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
My pleasure. Good day.